Hi, if you have one of these old Garrard turntables, you might have experienced a problem with the speed selector mechanism and the speed selector switch. So I just wanted to cover this real briefly. If the mechanism below has been locked up, you may find that you won't be able to rotate the switch at all. But if it ever got forced, you might find that you'll be able to rotate this thing freely. And I'll show you what happens. So here's a look at the mechanism from the bottom side, and as I rotate the switch, you'll notice that the selector cam is not rotating. It just rotates that washer. So let's take this apart, and I might note that I've already cleaned and lubricated all these components, but just wanted to get back in here to take a look at the switch and to see if I could fabricate one myself. So let's remove all of these components here, and we'll get access to the selector cam. You remove the screw and the hold down washer, and then you will notice that there were a couple of tabs that used to be on this selector knob, and both of them have been sheared off. Those tabs mated with the selector cam and provided the means for that to be rotated. But with both of those ears having been sheared off, that thing rotates freely now. And here's a close-up showing the bottom of the selector switch with the missing ears. So in hopes of being able to fabricate one of these things, I took the dimensions off the existing selector knob and then went over to the 3D software and modeled the selector switch. So here's a look at that, and you can see I've kind of captured the curves and the bevels of the handle, and of course capturing the tabs that were on the bottom. So I exported an STL file out of the CAD model and then went over to the Bamboo Studio and imported the file there. And you can see when it comes in, it orientated the part in its upright position. Well, after a few attempts, I discovered that what worked out better was to rotate this 180 degrees, put the top of the selector knob onto the base plate. That, of course, required that we enable some supports, and I'll show you what that looked like when we did the slice on it. Always takes a few attempts for me to get to the right solution. Attempt number one was printing it with a matte black PLA, and that broke and failed right away. So attempt two was doing it with PLA carbon fiber, but the part was oriented in the vertical direction, and that didn't produce very good results for the tabs that were on the bottom. So the final solution was to print it upside down, and that produced the best results in terms of the tabs and the ears that were on the bottom. And here's a closer look at how the bottom turned out. The ears and the tabs were pretty well defined, and that's the solution I went with. So this mates real nicely with the selector cam. So now let's just put this back together again. So I sped this up a little bit, but just follow the process in reverse to put this all back together again. But again, I just wanted to point out that I had already taken this completely apart. All of these components had the hardened grease removed, and things were operating smoothly. So I knew that as soon as I put the knob back together again, at least that wasn't going to be causing the failure. So with everything back together again, you can see that all the mechanism is working properly again, and that selector switch is driving the cam, and all of the parts are moving appropriately. So let's turn it back over again, and you can see that selector switch is doing its job. So the 3D print turned out pretty good, so I wanted to share this with you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.